Hey, it's Nate Dogg, 33. So how strange is this for me? Now all three cartoons that my brother Joe and I turned into parodies now have their own live action movie. Before it was just Rambo. Now we got Transformers and G.I. Joe, which I walked out of 45 minutes after watching it. And no, I didn't ask for my money back. I never ask for my money back when I go to see a movie that I know I'm not going to like. So I deserve to have my money taken away from me that day. I knew I wasn't going to like it. I kept saying to myself, I'm not going to see it, but I had a friend of mine who was going to see it, even though he knew it was going to be bad.
So I decided to go with him, just so I can critique it.
And G.I. Joe made 4 mistakes that seem to be a trend in Hollywood lately. If a movie does like maybe 1 or 2 of these mistakes, I'll let it slide and stay with it. But I saw all 4 mistakes in 45 minutes of the movie. I had to leave. My brain is worth more than just $10. I don't know how people could turn their brains off of these movies. Mistake number 1, it's an adaptation. And they usually suck. And we have nobody to blame but ourselves, the moviegoers. We have to stop going to movies that are based on video games and toys and cartoons and comics. Then Hollywood will realize, hey, we're not getting any money from these movies. People don't want to see them. Let's actually hire some writers and make something original. Before I go on, let me just say this has been like the worst summer for movies. I mean, almost every single movie has been an adaptation of something. I think the only original movies that I could think of was Bruno and The Hangover.
Oops, I forgot about Esther. Some people liked the 3 movies I just mentioned, some people didn't, but that's not my point. I did some research, and as far as I can tell, they aren't rip-offs. Bruno doesn't count. It isn't really a rip-off. It's just another one of Sacha Baron Cohen's characters.
Everything else is a continuation or an adaptation. It's been a real bad summer for movies, let me tell you. Mistake number 2. If it's going to be based on something, stay true to the original material at least. If you make an adaptation of something, stay true to the original source material. A lot of people who like the new stuff in the movies, like they like the new Scooby-Doo movies, they like the new Transformer movies, they like the new movies based on comic books. A lot of people make fun of the fans of the original versions and say, oh, poor babies, they're not following it perfectly for you guys, too bad. That's not the point. The point is these things have been made already. They have a fan base. People are familiar with these things. Don't change what's familiar to people when you bring it to the big screen. Stay true to the people that made it what it is now.
I'm not a Joe fan, but I understand where they're coming from. If these remakes, adaptations, and continuations are going to be their own version, why not put a disclaimer for the trailer that says, this has nothing to do with the original, to keep fans from whining? Movie makers won't do that because they're afraid their version is inferior. And maybe moviegoers who aren't fans of the original might not like it either. Instead, they'll say it's bigger and better than what you're familiar with, just to get the fans' money, in case it's a box office disaster. This really sucks for me because I want to see something new. I'm tired of seeing old crap revamped. It's only cool when it's done right. And in that way, it sucks for the fans because Hollywood is destroying concepts. Hey, Hollywood, start making your own films and leave the classics alone.
Mistake number 3, if you're not going to stay true to the original source material, then at least have a decent story. Like X-Men Origins was a pretty decent movie, even though it didn't stay true to the original source material. I'm not an X-Men fan, but I've heard from people who actually grew up reading the comics say, yeah, the origins were all messed up, but it was still a really good story and really entertaining. You know, they didn't mind that some of the relations and some of the characters, the origins were completely different. At least they stayed true to the actual characters. They changed the situation for the character, but the character handled the situation exactly the way their character would have handled it from the original comics. G.I. Joe doesn't do that. The storyline wasn't terrible, but it was kind of weak. You know, it's typical, you know, the terrorists steal a weapon and they want to use it against the world, and only G.I. Joe can stop them, you know. Not much you can do with G.I. Joe, but the characters weren't even right. See, when you start criticizing little bits and pieces here and there of a movie, it's nitpicking. You know, I'm not a G.I. Joe fan at all, but I know enough to know that certain things were just completely wrong. And because I'm not a fan of G.I. Joe, it didn't bother me that they weren't in their original costumes, but the costumes that they made for them look really stupid. I don't care that they updated them. I just think they look stupid. Storm Shadow looked ridiculous. And Snake Eyes, you know, he's covered in head to toe in black just like he's supposed to be. But why the hell did they give him a face on his mask? He's not supposed to have a face. It's supposed to be blank and emotionless. Not only does it have a face, but it's a stupid looking face with these big ass lips. I gotta look at that for 2 hours. The only character that they had perfect was the Baroness. I mean, she looked the part. The only problem is she didn't speak with an accent. Isn't she supposed to have an accent? I don't know.
Her accent was part of her appeal.
Is that so?
She had it in the original cartoon. She speaks with an accent in Resolute.
What are they doing?
Just sitting there, wondering what to do. I'll give them another minute.
Maybe we should kill one now. Speed up their thought process a little.
Nice. Pick one.
My own brother who hates G.I. Joe was smart enough to give the Baroness an accent when we did this parody that we're about to show.
Are you sure this is the appropriate place for this kind of thing? I'm getting a little excited.
Why is this woman speaking perfect English?
Alright, so I tried not to let those little things get in the way. I figured maybe somewhere along the line it'll redeem itself. But no. So on top of it already being an adaptation, big Hollywood mistake, people gotta stop going to these movies and paying Hollywood for this garbage. Not only is it not true to the original fan base, not only does it have a weak plot, but it has a little something in it that bothers me personally about certain movies. I am really tired of going to the movies and seeing heroes cause just as much damage or even more damage than the villains. I mean, it's bad enough, you know, in real life we have people who claim to be heroes messing things up for the rest of the world. Why am I watching G.I. Joe do it?
Certain heroes can get away with this, like the Hulk. He's a beast. When he fights, shit's gonna break. Ghost Rider got his powers from the devil or a devil-type character. I don't know, I'm not a fan. But because of his origins of his powers, when I went to see this movie, it didn't bother me that his motorcycle pretty much tore up everything that it drove on. And if you've heard my rants about the Transformers, you know I'm not crazy about the movies or the cartoons. But it doesn't bother me that when the Autobots fight, they break shit. They can't help it. They're giant robots. When they fight, things are gonna break. But at least they never inadvertently caused the Decepticons to kill people, which is pretty much what happens in the Rise of Cobra movie. And that's the scene that caused my friend and I to walk out. There's a scene that shows Cobra killing hundreds of innocent people, and it's pretty much all G.I. Joe's fault. What's the scene? Well, just like my Transformer rant, my G.I. Joe rant has gone way over the time limit, so I'm gonna have to end it here and pick up on it on the second half. Be warned though, it's a spoiler. See you guys later.